Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain. Day 84 of the current situation, and today's video is all about phase changes and the use of masks. But before we begin with the news, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there. A big thanks to all of the people that supported the channel through a small donation. You can see your name here. A big thanks to all of the people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Greatly appreciated. Now, as I said, today's news mainly focuses on the phase change that we're going to go into on Monday, and also the use of masks, which is going to be compulsory for the near future. But firstly, phase changes. Now, as we can see here, 52% of the Spanish population will be in phase 3 on Monday, and their autonomies will manage the de-escalation. So Monday, the 8th of June for these phase changes. And we can see here that the Minister of Health yesterday said that there is no problem in authorizing mobility between provinces of the same community in phase 3. Basically meaning that if you are going into phase 3 on Monday, you will be able to move to different provinces if the autonomous community permits it. Now remember that the management of the de-escalation plan in phase 3 is in the hands of the autonomous communities. So for example, if you're in Andalusia, it is the Andalusia government that is controlling it there now. Galicia the same, Balearic Islands and the Canary Islands if you're in phase 3. It is now the autonomous community that is going to manage the de-escalation phase and not the central government, which has been the case up until now. Now let's have a look at the map of the phase changes, and we can see here phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 orange, nowhere in Spain as of Monday will be in phase 1. Phase 2, the light blue color, we can see that it is the majority of the central region and also the Valencian area here in Spain and Catalonia except for Tarragona, and the rest of the country, as I said before, 52% going into phase 3. Now remember that there's only a couple of islands in phase 3 at the moment, in the Canaries and one in the Balearic, but the rest of the country here, 52% going into phase 3. And we can see here that, for example, Alicante stays in phase 2, Valencia also stays in phase 2, Barcelona also stays in phase 2, Madrid stays in phase 2, as does the majority of Castilla-La Mancha and Castilla-León, but we can see that all of Andalusia now is moving into phase 3. So Malaga and Granada have been fast-tracked into phase 3 because remember that they were behind the rest of the provinces in Andalusia, but the government has had their wish and those provinces are also going into phase 3. Now you might be asking yourself, what can you do in phase 3 apart from travel to another province if your autonomous community allows it? As announced, the movement between provinces will be regulated by each autonomous community. Bars and restaurants will have their capacity extended to a maximum of 50% of its capacity as long as the separation of clients is guaranteed. People standing with a minimum separation of 2 meters are allowed between customers at the bar. The open-air terraces of hotel and restaurant establishments may be open to the public, limiting the capacity to 75% of the tables allowed. And of course, one of the other big changes is that you are now allowed to get together in groups of up to 20 people. Phase 2, 15 people, and phase 3 now allows 20 people to get together. So you can go and have a family reunion, meet with friends, get together with your work colleagues in groups of up to 20. So good news there. Now, another question, will you still have to wear a mask? Yes, is the basic answer to that. And we can see here that the use of masks will continue to be mandatory in this new stage of de-escalation as it has been up until now. But the government yesterday hinted that we're going to have to wear masks here in Spain even after the state of alarm ends on the 21st of June. And we can see here that the government is planning to fine anyone who does not wear a mask after the state of alarm. Masks will remain mandatory, and the decree that the government is preparing for the new normality is going to suggest fines of up to €100 for those who do not wear them in closed public places. And another headline here said, "This will be our life in the new normal, masks and a safe distance between people, sine die." So there we go, face masks that were not considered mandatory 2 months ago during the height of the pandemic are now going to be part of our lives for the foreseeable future. So before we leave home, we're going to have to get our wallets, our purses, our keys, and our face masks, and obviously some hand sanitizer in order to avoid those €100 fines which the government is planning to implement in the future. And if you are in Spain, you will have noticed that almost every shop you go into nowadays has a sign on the door saying the use of masks is obligatory, and obviously this is going to continue when we go into closed spaces. So metros, shops, restaurants, all those places, mask use is going to have to be compulsory. Now, I don't know how this is going to play out in restaurants. Maybe there's going to have to be some type of leniency in those types of places, or how are we going to be eating? Pulling the mask down and putting the food into our mouth? I, for one, can't imagine a more unpleasant experience. Now, some more news related to the opening of borders. Will they open? Won't they open? That's the question. And we can see here that Spain is among the most conservative countries to reopen their borders. Madrid and Rome demand from Brussels a coordinated plan for free movement. This comes on the back of most EU countries leaning to open internal borders on June the 15th, despite Spain's rejection. Spain maintains its intention to lift the restrictions on July the 1st. So again, Spain deciding not to move in line with the rest of the European countries for whatever reason, and deciding to keep their borders closed for 15 days longer than the rest of other Schengen countries. Now, regarding tourism to Spain this summer, the head of the tour giant TUI, Frederick Jalson, came out and said it is no less safe to spend a summer in Mallorca than to be in a Bavarian beer garden. And I also read yesterday that there has been an experiment between Germany and Palma de Mallorca, with a large amount of Germans traveling to Mallorca to test and see whether it's safe to open the floodgates for the arrival of more Germans in the future. Because remember, the Balearic Islands, Mallorca, and the Canary Islands, very, very popular destinations for German tourists. And I agree with the words of Mr. Jalson that it would be just as safe to be in Mallorca as it would be in Germany at the moment. Because remember that even though the virus is still out there, places like Mallorca are some of the safest areas in Spain at the moment. Now, one of the minor party politicians, Mr. Garciano, has called for a 6-month political truce to design the country's reconstruction in the face of the pandemic. The European Parliament member has asked to open schools in July to reduce the student gap. Now, forgive me for being a little bit skeptical, but a political truce here in Spain, I can't see that happening, especially seeing what happened this week between some of the politicians here in Spain who are trying to rebuild the country at the moment. They can't seem to put their political hatred behind them, and that's going to be a huge problem for the country going forward in the future. If nobody can come to an agreement, how are they going to fix the country? Now, if you've got money on the stock market, no doubt you would have noticed that there has been a bit of a rally this week, and the company IAG, which is the parent company of British Airways and Iberia, is apparently flying on the stock market, and it has risen 100% in 3 weeks. The recovery of the tourism sector, and in particular air traffic, still presents multiple uncertainties regarding its pace and magnitude, but the stock recovery figures of airlines like IAG speak for themselves about the degree of expectations that the market is considering. So if the markets are to be believed, then this sector is about to start its activity soon, which is good news for people looking to get back in the sky again and resume their travel plans. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from the last video. One here from LD Castillo. On the Living in Spain comment, how can anyone enjoy the quality of life you are speaking of if there are no jobs available to enjoy that quality of life? Yeah, good question. I think that when they refer to quality of life here in Spain, they're talking about people that don't rely on the local economy. Now, I have said on numerous occasions that Spain is a fantastic country to live in, but a terrible country to work in, and that's obviously going to be more the case over the next few years. I wouldn't recommend anybody to come to Spain and look for a job at the moment. However, if you are planning to retire here, this country will still offer all of the same things that it always has done, and that's the main point. Don't come here and expect quality of life if you have to look for a job, but if you're planning to retire, by all means. One here from Keithy. Hi Stuart, in England we now have to wear masks on public transport at all times. It has just been brought in this week, and everyone that travels into England has to quarantine for 2 weeks when arriving from another country, and checks will be made to ensure that people do comply to those rules. Yeah, thanks for that, Keithy. I saw that masks are now compulsory in the UK, and also that there is some type of quarantine period for people travelling there. It seems to me that the UK is about 2 weeks behind Spain with regard regard to these policies. I don't know what the current health situation is there at the moment, but I think it's still pretty bad compared to here in Spain. But again, here in Spain, the numbers aren't really to be trusted, and we can see that there are a few British newspapers questioning the statistics here in Spain at the moment. But the use of masks, again, as I said before, is now going to be compulsory for the foreseeable future, and I don't know if that's going to be the same case in the UK. I, for one, as I have mentioned in other videos, I can't get used to wearing masks. I find them very, very uncomfortable, but from what I see around the place, I seem to be in the minority here in Spain, as the majority of people that I see, even just walking down the street, are wearing masks all the time. One here from David. Hey Stuart, where was the Day 81 video? I have watched every one since I was furloughed, and I need that for my collection. David. Yeah, thanks for the comment, David. I didn't put out a video on Day 81. To be honest, I was a little bit tired and I needed a break from editing and recording, which, believe it or not, can take it out of you. But don't worry, from now on, I am planning to put out a video every day, or at least until I get to the 100 mark, which is my objective at the moment. One here from Sarah. Hi, Stuart. I'd love it if you continued with your updates, even after the pandemic ceases to be a pandemic. I'm English, but have been living in Dubai for 17 years. My husband and I have a finca near Malaga, and I was due to move there semi-permanently on the 15th of March. He isn't retiring yet. So much for that idea. We aren't officially residents yet. If I fly to Madrid and connect to Malaga, does that break the rules re-travelling to different provinces, or is it okay to be a transit passenger? I'd appreciate any information. Many thanks for your great updates. Please continue the good work. Kind regards, Sarah. Yes, Sarah, a couple of good questions. The only problem that I can see with this is that if you are not a resident, you're not allowed into the country at the moment. And I think that's going to be in place up until the state of alarm ends, or the 1st of July when the borders reopen again. And then you should be able to come back into the country and go to your residence there in Malaga. And I also think that's the date that the quarantine period is going to end as well, on the 1st of July. So you won't have to go into quarantine either when you come back into the country. And hopefully by that time, the whole of Spain will be out of the phase system and you should be able to travel between provinces with no problem. One here from Jussie. I have a question. What do you think about private housing pools being open in July? We are going to travel to the Costa del Sol in July and I'm wondering about this. Thank you for your corona updates in Spain. I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for the comment, Jussie. A lot of people asking that question at the moment. When are community swimming pools going to open? Remember that this week swimming pools did open for training, but community swimming pools in private estates and at hotels are still closed. Now, I managed to find this information. When do municipal and community pools open? At what stage of de-escalation? And we can see that the opening of pools will coincide with the beginning of the summer, but not all the provinces will arrive at the same time, and it will always be with capacity limitations and respecting the sanitary recommendations. So there we go, the first day of summer, which I think is the 21st of June. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the first day of summer, and that will be the day when pools open. And of course, if the area you're in has finished the de-escalation plan. One here from Kevin. Hola, Stuart. We have lived on the beautiful island of Lanzarote for 5 years now and have thoroughly enjoyed your very informative reports. Just starting to enjoy more freedom of movement with bars and restaurants opening daily. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Kev. Yeah, thanks for the comment, Kevin. I imagine Lanzarote is a beautiful place to be all year round. Fantastic weather, nice people, relaxed way of life, and it's good to see that more things are starting to open up and you're able to enjoy some of the bars and restaurants in the local area. The good news for the Canary Islands going into phase 3, meaning that you will be out of the de-escalation or the phase system here in Spain sooner rather than later, and things hopefully will be able to get back to some type of normal in the near future down there. But yeah, a great place to be at the moment, I imagine, Lanzarote. One here from Both and the Spy. Hi Stuart, thanks for the informative videos. For sure you'll make a ton if my math serves me right. You should reach it by June the 22nd, just in time to celebrate the end of the state of alarm. Speaking of which, if the government insists that we have to continue wearing surgical masks after the end of the said state, they needn't bother wanting to attract foreign tourists because nobody will want to travel to Spain with that rule enforced. Picture this, a family of holidaymakers sitting on a beach wearing surgical masks. It's not going to happen. Foreign travellers will go elsewhere. I know I would. Yeah, thanks both, and that's going to be one of the talking points over the summer. People that are planning their trip to Spain this year are going to have to pack surgical masks with them, as well as their bikinis, their board shorts, and all of those other things that you normally bring with you on holiday. It's going to be obligatory here in Spain, as we saw, for the foreseeable future to carry a mask on you or wear a mask in closed spaces. I don't think you're going to have to wear one at the beach. I know a lot of people will. I know a lot of people will be walking and doing their exercise wearing masks, but I've seen a lot of people around the place, even if they're having a coffee sitting outside, not wearing a mask. You don't have to do it outside. It's only if you can't keep that 2-meter distance with another person that you have to wear a mask. And from what I understand, beaches are going to try to control access to them this year. So people, I don't think, are going to be crowded on beaches, and there's going to be a lot more space than normal. So I don't think you're going to have to wear a mask on the beach this year. So don't worry about that. Yeah, good question, Rob. Can Spain afford the new normal? I don't know. I don't know if any country around the world can afford the new normal. I think it's just something that we're going to have to get used to for the next 6 months or so until this health situation is under control. Can we afford it? Can businesses afford it? I think they're going to have to adapt. Obviously, profits for a lot of companies are going to reduce. They're going to have to put in safety measures inside their premises in order to do business correctly, which is going to cost them money. Everybody's going to take a hit. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any sector here in Spain except for supermarkets that haven't taken a hit, and Amazon, of course, which seems to be busier than normal. But hopefully businesses will be able to adapt, people start spending money again, and we have a crack at trying to afford the new normal. But I don't know. What do you think? One here from Prasen. My everyday morning routine when I wake up is to watch updates from Spain videos where I have lots of friends and family and I visit every year. I'm sure you will cross 100. Chances are very less to be trapped LBW or get out caught behind in the 90s, and perhaps will even be a double centurion. Greetings from California, and look forward to many more of these Spain videos. Yeah, thanks for that comment there, Prasen. Obviously, you are a cricket fan. Looking forward to the test series between Australia and India later this year, no doubt. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like you that have friends and family in Spain. I see a lot of comments from people worried about their family and friends in this country. The good news is that things are starting to get back to normal. It has been pretty heavy here over the last few months, but that new normality is starting to set in. And hopefully, Prasen, you will be able to come here and visit your friends sooner rather than later. One here from John. Stuart, I heard on the TV the end is July the 1st. It changes per hour here. In short, a chaotic end. Please check. Yeah, John, thanks for the comment. It is a bit confusing. The 21st, as somebody said, or the 1st, nobody really knows. The tourism minister came out the other day and said that the borders were going to open up on the 21st. The rest of the government then came out and said that that's not going to happen. It's going to be the 1st of July. This information does change on a regular basis. It is a little bit chaotic, but that's the same everywhere in the world at the moment. I don't think it's unique to Spain. One here from William. I don't know what's happening in Spain regarding tourism and holiday rental places, but here in the Algarve, the greed has set in just on the hope the Brits will flood in, with massive rises in accommodation costs. Ridiculous. Hope the greedy buggers stay empty. Yeah, good comment, William. I imagine there's going to be a lot of price gouging going on over the next few months in places like Portugal or here in Spain. Apparently the demand internally this year is huge. A lot of people have already booked out accommodation here in mainland Spain, and I imagine that a lot of businesses are going to increase prices in order to make up for the money that they have lost. And you're right, greedy buggers, but it's all part of the system that we live in. And finally, one here from Geraldine. We're planning to go live in Spain in January. Are we crazy? Well, Geraldine, no, you are not crazy. I suppose it depends on where you're planning to go and live. If you're planning to go and live in the north of Spain with the cold weather in January, you might be a little bit crazy. But if you're planning to go to one of the sunnier areas in Spain, no, you are not crazy. And especially if you are retiring. If you're planning to come here as retirees, no, you are not crazy. Spain will still offer, as I said before, fantastic quality of life for you. Another question is if you're planning to come here and look for a job. In that case, you might be crazy. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Try to keep the insults to a minimum. We don't want too many insults happening in the comments section. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.